What's up everyone, welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today's video is a review of Here. It's the latest movie from director Robert Zemeckis and reunites him with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, who he previously worked with on Forrest Gump. Based on a graphic novel by Richard McGuire, Here tells a story that spans multiple generations, offering glimpses into the lives of people who all lived in the same place, but at different times. Before I jump into the review, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I post here on the channel. Here is a great example of a movie that has an interesting premise but falls short on the execution of it. Set in a single room of a house, the story is centered on a couple, Richard, played by Tom Hanks, and Margaret, played by Robin Wright, and follows them from the beginnings of their relationship all the way until they are elderly. But the movie also jumps around in time to also show the lives of other people who also once lived in the house. And it's a very interesting concept. It's basically asking, what if we told a story of everything and everyone as it happened here in this one specific spot on Earth? And so the story goes all the way back to the age of the dinosaurs and works its way up to the present. So you see the extinction of the dinosaurs. You see the Native Americans who once lived in this spot. You're taken to the colonial times to see life there. Again, all of it happening in this one specific spot. You see the house that the movie is going to spend most of its time in. You get to see it being built, but it's the way the story is told that's the movie's biggest problem. Zemeckis chooses to tell this story from one single camera angle, and the camera never moves. So everything that happens with these different people over all these different decades are shown from that same point of view. And don't get me wrong, I think on the surface that's a very creative technique, and I'm giving Zemeckis credit here for doing something different and unique. But the approach highlights some of the limitations for telling a story like this in this way. There are so many times when the actors have to crowd into the frame when delivering their lines, and the results are awkward. And so are the performances, which just feel so stilted. The scenes often feel so lifeless because the only movement really comes from the actors who are either moving in and around the background or in the foreground. Or sometimes the scenes feel very distant, like when the characters are having conversations with someone who is off screen in a place that we can't and won't ever see. Again, the camera's fixed, so there are no pans, there are no tilts, and the only close-ups we get are when the actors actually move close to the camera. They actually walk up to the camera to create the close-up. To transition from scene to scene, Zemeckis uses these rectangular shapes that kind of serve as windows into another time. So, for example, if you're watching a scene from the 1940s, a box might appear to show a scene from the 1970s in one corner of the frame before fully going into that scene. And I actually like this technique, but again, it's one of the few instances of movement that the movie offers. This movie is also way too busy narratively. It's jumping way too many times to too many different characters in too many different timelines. Some of the scenes are so short that they are unable to build any emotional resonance. For this to work, at least for me, the movie probably should have just focused on 3 storylines instead of several. Some of the timelines it jumps back to just felt like filler. I guess the best way to describe Here is to say that it's mostly constructed like a stage play, which kind of feels unfair to stage plays because I actually like plays, I like the theater, but the movie feels very constrained. But with a play, they are created in a certain way because they are constrained to the boundaries of the stage. But there are so many examples in Here where the way the scenes, especially the ending of the scenes, are constructed very much like the way the end of a scene might be in a play. For example, in Here, you might have characters having a conversation, and then at the end of the scene, one of the characters might deliver a line of dialogue. Everyone kind of freezes and they pause. Now, if this was a play, this would be the moment in the play where either the curtains would close to get ready for the next scene, or the lights might dim so that set pieces on the stage could be rearranged for the next scene. And here, it doesn't really feel like it belongs there. Another problem this movie has is the dialogue, which is often so on the nose, and these characters are delivering lines that literally spell out things that have just played out on screen. It's almost as if the filmmaker didn't trust that the audience could connect the dots on their own, and so you have to have the characters literally explain things or point out specific things through the dialogue. The visual effects are also not very good in this movie, and I've said this before in previous reviews. Hollywood lately has been using the de-aging technology and it's still not quite there. And this is another example of it doesn't work very well. And it often just makes the actors look weird. Specifically when Tom Hanks and Robin Wright are in close-ups, the way the characters are moving their mouths just look strange. it looks artificial. And it's also very distracting. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really connect with this movie. And it's kind of a shame because the main theme running throughout this movie is one about the human condition. It's about life and different aspects of life, the good and the bad. And that part of it did resonate with me, you know, and you see the characters dealing with different parts of their life, whether it's, you know, regrets or dreams that they had that they didn't realize, or you know, marital issues, or, you know, loss. It's all these different things. And sometimes the characters within different time periods are dealing with some of the same life issues as each other. And I think anyone that's ever had a happy or sad moment in life can relate to a lot of this. But I think overall, the execution of this idea, the execution of this story is something that just didn't work. And it's a shame because I think from a technical aspect, it's very interesting what Zemeckis is trying to do here. And I, again, applaud him for trying something different. But I think a lot of that gets lost in this approach that often feels kind of gimmicky. And that in turn hurts the performances. The dialogue doesn't help. And you're kind of stuck with this movie that is just kind of emotionless and kind of bland. So those are my thoughts on here. Share your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around for more videos like this.